Hello student, morning to one and all. This is the fermentation product of wine, etc. So this is the fermentation section, fermentor, it is stored division. It is for distillation unit. This is a simple one, and this is a large and mega mass production in this industry, like one. So that the raw material of this when production barley and malt, etc. This is the one of the main ingredients in the barley source and germinate until they control the condition. This operations, that means malting, the causes towards the end of the production process development of carbohydrates and nitrogenous substances by the enzymes formed during the germination process, and some of the varying conditions during the malting process. Temperature and humidity is exact allows different types of malt to be obtained, giving the different colors and flavors also the beer. This is the preparation of the wort. The first phase of the process of beer production is the preparation of the wort. This process has 4 stages. So the picture shows that the production steps is number 1, milling, that means malting. In order to for the malt components to be rapidly extracted and converted, the malt is milled to obtain the coarse flour. The other unmalted cereals are also milled to varying the degrees, depends upon the components. And mashing, it is the second one. The mash is, the barley is flour mashed, that means malt and other unmalted cereals is mixed with water and subjected to certain the processes to obtain a wort of a suitable composition for the kind of beer being the product produced, varying times, temperature as well as pH. It will be maintained in the mashing time. These conditions encourage the development of complex starch molecules and proteins in other similar ones by the means of enzymes formed during the production of malt. Mashing the late 2 to 4 hours finish the temperature approximately 75 degrees Celsius. And the third step is filtration of the wort. After mashing, the whole volume is filtered in order to separate the spent grains, in which is the excellent animal feed from the wort itself. This is done by passing water through the mash at the right temperature, that means the suitable temperature, in a filter process, and in which lasts around 2 to 3 hours. It's conducted at a temperature is 75 to 80 degrees Celsius. And fourth stage is boiling the water. The diluted and filtered water is boiled for around 2 hours. Hops are added at this stage. The purpose of boiling is to transform and make soluble the bitter substances in the hops. Sometimes it's eliminate and undesirable volatile substances like sterilized the water, provoke the precipitations of proteins of high molecular weight. Sometimes it's established the final concentration of water, and after boiling it is necessary to separate the precipitated protein and the insoluble hop components from the hot water, and its separation may be carried out in a decenter using gravity or with centripetal force in the whirlpool. Before the hopped water goes into the fermentation tanks, it is cooled in a temperature around 9 degrees Celsius, add in sterilized condition. At the same time, the fermentation is going to the during the process, its sugar are converted by the transformation of yeast into the alcohol and the carbon dioxide. In this fermentation beings, when yeast of a culture selected for the type of beer being produced is added to the cooled oxygen saturated water. Sometimes the fermentation takes place at controlled temperatures and lasts around 7 days. At first, it is quite violent, then slows down gradually until the yeast is deposited on the bottom of the tank. So that picture shows that one. And maturation and stabilization. The maceration is one of the phase of fermentation, the period in which the beer is allowed to rest at suitable temperatures in order for the undesirable volatile components which might affect the final containers or bucket of the beer to be released. And stabilization, this consists of letting the beer stabilize the temperatures of between 0 degrees Celsius to minus 2 degrees Celsius to permit colloidal stabilized conditions, and that some of the clarification of the beer is clarification is the operation that gives the beer its clear limited quality. Sometimes it's eliminating the lost remaining traces of clouding still in suspensions. It consists of pumping the liquid through a suitable filter. Finally, the filtered beer is then stored in tank, now ready to bottled. So that the finish of the clarification of the beer and bottling conditions, the final stage of the beer production process. It's transferring the beer into different kinds of conditions or containers. Some of the product is bottles, buckets, cans, etc. Before or after bottling, the beer needs to be biologically stabilized. In this operation may be carried out in cold conditions, that means sterilizing the filtration, or some of these hot using pasteurization, which may be done either immediately before flashing pasteurization or after the drink is introduced into the container tunnel, that is called pasteurization. In this connection, this will be the outline structure of the and process of this beer production. That means the picture shows that barley, then cleaning, and exactly germinating condition, and keep it heat, it will be grind, the flour will become, then separations, and then you going to the funnel, it will be applied the yeast also. So yeast will be fermented some water also, so it will be comes down the fermenter, the, the separation of the each and every one, that means molasses, filtration, and pasteurization. Then we are going to the next stages, the malting stages and the stability sterilization stages. It will become on the product. The end product is stored in the bottling and the bucket and etc. So, and the tin, that means can also stored in this product. So that I conclude the picture is a formation of the production of fermented products beer. Now we going to the production of wine using the grapes. Wine production is mainly steps of viticulture: harvesting, stemming, crushing, fermentation, drying, pressing, mixing, clarification, aging, and bottling. So that the main stages and steps involved in the production of wine. In viticulture is the factors in which influence grapes flavor. It's the most important aspect of climatic of the vineyard regions, drainage around the vines, humidity of the region, so that it's maintain the sun exposure, soil quality also. This is major steps. Then harvesting. The grapes are picked up and hand or mechanically. Sometimes its decision of harvest informed by level of sugar and acid weather forecasts, and the stemming and crushing. The stemming is the separation of the stems and the grapes which are sent to the press, and the crushing is the horizontal press squeezes the broken grapes. It's separating the fresh juice, that means it must from the skin's mark. After crushing starts, the fermentation process is going to stage. The fermentation stages sugar and acids that naturally react with the wild yeast, and vineyard adding their own yeast. That means the fermentation can take from 10 to 30 days. It's convert natural sugar to alcohol. So that draining process is liquid wine is drained from the vat without being pressed and go into the barrels, that means free run wine. Then the draining is the stages of remaining pulp retains about 20% of the wine. So pure collection of the extract will be 80%. Sometimes it's 20% of the wine in pulp. Again in the using the process. The pressing, the remaining pulp after draining, it is pressed to squeeze out of the pressed wine. The pressed wine tends to be dark, harsh and unpalatable, and is mixed with the free run wine to produce something decent. Some of the mixings also available in this process. The free run wine and the pressed wine always from the same source, like mixed together in appropriate ratios to obtain the desired balance. And finally, the clarification. Clarification is the step of stabilization of fermentation. The wildest fermentation yeast is adding this process. During the clarification of all remaining solids are removed from the fermented liquid, it's clarified in the numerous ways. It's one of the ways finding a process that calls for the addition of substances that cause the solid in the liquid to adhere to one another and sink to the bottom of the vat. In this connection, the running to liquid through coarse and fine filters also available. The product is going to the end condition, that means a storage condition. The aging of these products. The final stage is vinification, is aging of the wine. At this point, the clarified wine is transferred into either wooden barrels or metal vats, in which the wine is allowed to further mature and develop the flavor. It is winemaker's choices to age the wine in wooden keg. He will be allowing the wine to pick up flavor from the wood, aging greater depth in the flavor, and the stages of bottling. The final step of the wine production, a dose of sulfite is added to help preserve the wine and prevent unwanted fermentation in the bottle. The wine bottle then are traditionally sealed with a cork, although alternative wine closures such as synthetic corks and screw caps. The types of wines: red, white, dry, sweet, and fortified. So many types of that, but all kinds of alcoholic product, fermented product will be highly harmful or health. It is the industrial oriented point of view. The fermented beverages like beer and wine will be farmers in the throughout the world. It is the simplest outline structure of the production of the fermented beverages. It's the clearly it's the picture shows that the structure harvesting the product, that means fruits, then crush, then adding the fermentation, then it will be pressed, then aging, that means long duration stored in condition, and finishing, it will be taken the bottling. So that I conclude the product will be alcoholic fermented beverages. I hope you are understand that product. Thanks to watching. Thanks one and all.